years. That means that 30% don't. And often the reason they don't succeed is because they run into this massive problem of cash and not being able to find clients. The key to finding the right clients and to have a thriving business comes down to being able to speak the language and master your marketing message. And today we're going to sit down with an amazing individual who's going to help us connect to our authentic self so that we can stand out from the sea of sameness. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome to this podcast, Grace Mosgeller. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Christine. I'm honored to be a guest on your show.
Thank you. I know one of the things that you and I have talked about in our business journey together is that people wear masks, and we really struggle to really be authentic. And yet that is what everyone says. I really just want to be authentic. Why is it so hard to be authentic and drop the masks?
Oh, that's a really great question. So I believe that it's really hard to be authentic, even though you think you are, because the mask that we do is a survival protection, quote, defense that, it's been a habit for so long. It doesn't feel like a defense, but yet it is. And it's kind of like the appropriateness, like when someone's wearing a hat that's let's make it different. So someone's got some food stuck in their teeth and they're talking, and we want to tell them, hey, you got food in your teeth, but we don't want to hurt their feelings. And so we put up this mask and we smile at them anyhow and let them talk, right? And so that's just like a small version of wearing a mask. And another mask can be, because I'm a soul purpose coach, and it goes down to soul purpose. And if you're super creative and flamboyant, kind of like I am, but you're raised with people that soul kind of personality that really likes order and control, and coloring outside of the box really makes them feel, uncomfortable. And they love you so much that they say, yeah, no, don't color outside those lines. Stay in here. And so the mask happens when you want to please your parents. And so you stay within the lines, but you're like, you're almost like boxed in. And uncovering that dynamic within yourself and within relationship can be very, very freeing and very, very authentic. And that was kind of the story I had growing up and becoming able to speak fluently off script.
I love that, because I think one of the things that is true is when you're first starting out in business, you think there's a one way to build a business. And you think that leadership needs to look like a certain style, a certain label. And sometimes that means, certainly in my own experience, is we come with the hammer and not the heart.
So well said. Very, very well said. Yes. Well, and the move from corporate to being an entrepreneur, it's a completely different game, because corporate has, like I said, the box and the rules, and you've got your credentials, and you're like, I do this, but I don't do Windows, right? But when you become an entrepreneur, you have to do the Windows, and because corporate has a marketing department, and you're pleasing, you're representing a big entity, and so there's like a buffer between you and I'm just doing my job, right? But when you're working for yourself, you're working for yourself and you're really representing yourself. So there's a lot of skin in the game, so much skin in the game that you really risk rejection, comment, like everybody judges. I mean, we all do. And so people develop a thick skin. Well, that doesn't bother me. That's another mask, because if it really does bother you, then there's a personal growth to happen within that, so that you can accept, hey, let's agree to disagree and still be okay with that. And that's the path to authenticity, is really coming up with shifts like that.
And it is a big shift because I do think, I know in my own journey, when I started out, there was the risk of being visible. And
Oh,
this leads us to, hide behind a screen. It leads us again to show things that would be socially acceptable. And yet, that's how we sound like everybody else. And I'm curious, in your perspective, what advice would you give to help people start to connect to not who they were, but to focus on who they become, to call the right people? Because when you are authentic, you're not for everybody.
yeah.
And we fear that judgment at the highest, I think, of all of the limiting beliefs we get into, which is, I want to be seen, but I'm scared to be seen, but I need to be seen by the right people. What advice would you give to help us explore owning it so that our marketing message lands?
Well, the answer I give is like it's got validation both in the soul purpose realm, which is why I'm so passionate about it, and basic leadership is why. What's your purpose? Why did you become an entrepreneur? Who are you here to serve? And when you get really clear, like I'm this group of people is who I am. I was born to lead, because as an entrepreneur, you're a leader. You have a sole purpose as a leader. And the leaders come up two ways. Either they've been good at what they've been doing their whole life, they've been charismatic, and they know how to organize, they know how to be creative, they know how to live from their heart, which are three different examples of soul personalities as a leader. Or you come up like I did through the School of Hard Knocks, where everything is a calamity, so that the message that you send is your mess. But it goes from victimizer to victorious. So what's your victory story? And the passion, when we're talking soul qualities of leader, there's kind of like an opposite dichotomy within that personality, where the leader who's going out to battle, ready to be slain, like standing up and being invisible to the world, right? Which is the same
Mhm.
thing. It's like a death, right? Public speaking. And then this really super sensitive part of us that's got this very tender, deeply caring heart that we don't show, because as a leader, you're going to get stabbed in the back or poisoned, or your position's coveted. And if you show vulnerability, you're going to be open to attack. And so the message I have is get clear on your big why. Why are you an entrepreneur? And then, the big point, that's going to carry you through everything is, yeah, I was born to do that, which you get from soul purpose. And this is the cause I'm fighting for. And
Mm.
when you do that, that becomes bigger than any fear. Is that?
I agree with that. It's 100%. I often tell my clients two things. Your why has to move you past convenience, because
You're right.
building a business is never going to be successful when you are using convenience for the action taking moment in the day. And yet, once you really understand that why, your sole purpose, as you would phrase it, is, this is a non-negotiable for me.
Yes.
I need to get out of my way. And success in business, in my opinion, comes down to show up as a good human being. Because if you know you can serve somebody who has a problem that you understand at a very deep level, and you are there with resources to be a guide to serve somebody in darkness, you should feel compelled by your why to show up and be the light, whether it's the light in the darkness, the footprints in the sand, or to say simply the most powerful words I know in business: I see you. I really
Yes.
actually see you as
Yeah.
you are. You're not flawed. You're not broken. You're in a moment of darkness. And ask the question, would you like to stay there? And sometimes you get the answer, yes, I like my darkness. And other times you reach that line in the sand, and I say, it might be the thousandth time you've seen this line in the sand, and said, no, I can't stay here anymore. And that messaging right in that moment is everything, because they see you and you see them. And at which point you also get to say, would you like some support? And what that may look like could be a million different things. But I think that's where the real power lies. And I said it connects very much to your heart by saying, just if I see you, I want to help you. I feel very compelled to do that.
Yes.
And the words are in the real extremes of spectrum of emotion. And I think one of the reasons why so many businesses struggle and why that fail rate is so high is they leave it very surface level.
Agreed. Completely
We
agreed.
don't get into the weeds. And so I'm
Well,
curious if you have some advice around how do you learn to build the capabilities
of
to
being
strip
authentic,
back the armor?
to strip back the armor. How do you do that? Well, long story short, there's two ways. You can, there's a lot of coaches and healers out there that say, let's remove your blocks to abundance, to success, to being seen and heard. And so that I view that as from the outside, getting towards to uncover the brightness of your power, which in my work, I help you get in touch with the brightness of your heart and your soul, your purpose and your passion. And that creates a visceral feeling in your body that is, there's no other word besides passion. Um, and so how I'm different is um, I my suggestion is really get in touch with your big why and then drop your attention down into your heart, down into your soul, and let yourself really grow with that feeling. And that becomes your power. Because spiritually speaking, love melts fear. And when you have in service, that's how you love. That's your sole purpose. How do I love? Do I organize? Am I creative? And do I create teams? And variations of that. And so my advice is get in touch with your why, grow that feeling within you, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And it's really cool. One of my questionnaires I have for onboarding is, what do you have a process for co-creation with your business? And most people say, no, what's that? And so this is that. And if you can do that before you sit down and write a piece of content, before you go live and do a networking group or record a workshop, or you're just planning anything that has to do with your business, and you get in touch with that big why first, it's going to grease the wheels for success very, very quickly. And the side benefits, what is it? The side effects? As your family life gets better too.
Well, I love that. This is an awesome tip for our audience here, because there's a lot of rush to complete the task, especially when you're in a high growth phase of business. And that's often where I'm working with people,
Me
is they're
too, me
wanting to
too.
scale. And I said, why? And it sort of is always a, sorry, Christine, question that comes up.
I want to make
I said,
more money,
why?
right? Yeah.
And money is often the easy answer. It's not the one that drives us, because seriously, if it was driving you, you would have it. It's abundant. It's everywhere. And sometimes the challenge really comes down to, I love this tip. Spend some time thinking about your why and feeling connected to that honest, heartfelt, interior reflection
Yes.
before you influence the business.
Anything,
And whether that's a
anybody.
conversation, a client meeting, a piece of content, whatever, because then you are listening and connecting. And chances are you have a very clear vision of who you're trying to serve. And it
Awesome.
isn't everybody.
You know what I'm really loving about this conversation is we're saying the same things, but with different languaging.
Mm.
And that's why I think, my brother used to say, for every Polly, there's a Pete. And so that there's an explosion of coaches happening right now. And I think that's a good thing, because not everybody is going to resonate with everyone. And and just looking at the same thing. So how do we get to that place of power so we can make that impact
Mhm.
and make a super comfortable income that and the lifestyle that we became an entrepreneur for, right? Like why go through all this risk? Why jump off and find your wings on the way down, right? That takes
Absolutely.
courage. And growing up, my dad always used to say, um, oh, when you're a leader, whether you're a manager or head of a company, that the people below you always kind of grumble, why do they get paid more? They're doing less. And my dad would say, well, it's risk versus reward. They're doing a lot more risk than a steady paycheck, right?
So true. Your dad and my dad went to the same school, I'm sure,
I'm
listening
sure
to
they
that.
did.
And there's truth to this. When you think about what is the result of when your marketing message lands, it is an exchange of value. And without value, you have nothing. And value is, exchanged in lots of different ways, but it starts with a recognition of value. And I'm curious, when you look at your business journey and the work that you do with your clients to connect, to find why are you here? Build the skills and capabilities to have the courage to get visible, to own that you are not for everybody. You are after a very specific audience, and you need to live in the emotions in a healthy way of that darkness to pull them to light, to lead them to light, and to know that this is a non-negotiable to serve you. I'm curious, in your own business, what has been the most effective strategy you've used to check that the message is landing? What do you do? How do you know if you are having a good connection point?
That's a good question. How do I know if I'm having a I feel it. I'm like when I'm with people and I hold space. My hands are like this. I really get connected with my purpose, and for me, it's a feeling of love inside that grows and expands. And when I do that, I feel them on the other side. And I'm just hooked in with them. And then when they're going down through their, because a lot of the work I do does take them down to their low valley, a shadow of death, right? And
Mhm.
I just hold them there, and I'm like, and because I've been there, I can hold them and I go, yeah, it sucks, but keep going. The light's on the other side. Just go through. And how do I know is um the ahas they get, or they
Mhm.
relax, or all of it. I can feel their mask just dropping. You can just see it. And then there's the other ones that are like, yeah, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And they're do. And they're not a fit for me because if, well, I can capture their attention, but if they don't want to do this deep work, um, if they don't want to really connect with their why and they just want to do like, I have a strategy, and then so they, and what I see happens is they're trying to penetrate some sort of ceiling, if it's an income ceiling, an impact ceiling, or a fulfillment ceiling, and they're trying it and trying it and they're trying it and they're pulling up their bootstraps. I'm strong, right? And Tony Robbins always said, what got you here will not get you there. And so if they're not willing to take a step back and kind of look, this isn't working, I have to try something different. And what's this about connection? I thought doing, and strategizing was the way. And I'm here to say it is the way, but if it's not working, then you got to add this softer internal component.
I think that's awesome. It's true. There is a really good nugget here. You said, I hold space in the darkness.
I do.
And I also say, I have been there. I think one of the key things in what I've heard you say is that in order to get your message to land, you need to tell the stories that you also perhaps don't share publicly, but you share it in that moment of darkness and say, I see you. I actually have been there, and there is light on the other side. And clients are looking for a specialist who gets their story. And if
That's
you're
me.
not prepared to be there, your business will stall.
It will. It will. I went through a lot of coaches in my life thinking I needed a new shiny object. I needed a new strategy. I changed my message several times. I went from, oh, I'm a relationship coach. Oh, no, I'm a money coach. Oh, no, I'm a life purpose coach. And when I landed on the life purpose coach, I couldn't shift from there because you can't get more authentic from that. And from there, your tree blossoms and it can go in any direction that you choose. But my business expanded, my heart, and I was happier and I worked smarter, not harder, the moment I connected with my big why.
I love that. That's a great message. Grace, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear your insights. We definitely come from similar philosophies. We use different language, which is the point of this
Right.
podcast. I'd love for you to invite people. How can they connect with you? How can they learn more about what you offer? Please give us your invitation.
So I invite you to schedule a soul purpose assessment with me. And you find that on my website at gracemosgeller.com. And so how that works is you take a 4-minute questionnaire assessment, and then you're immediately scheduled for a review, and it's an hour long. And what's really cool is during that call, we pick out, well, what are the strengths? What's the personality? What's the quirks of your soul purpose? And it really gets you in touch with that. So by the end of the call, you're a zillion times clearer. Plus, we point out where the masks are, where the blocks are, where the mismatches are to really reaching your future successful self. And then we decide if working with me would be a good thing or a different personality. It doesn't, but you definitely have a good diagnosis after that.
Guys, you want to check it out. The link to do that is gracemosgeller.com. Thank you very much for being our guest. A couple of things, guys. This is the Master Your Marketing Message podcast. Be back here next week for another amazing episode. And if you love this, please give us a review, and we'd love to have you in our next episode. We'll see you then. Thank you, Grace, for being our guest today.
Thank you very, very much, Christine. I'm very, very honored.